Hey YouTube, Dawson Ryder here with my return of Uchu Sentai Kyuranger reviews. I apologize if you watch both the Kyuranger and Kamen Rider reviews, because they're just terrible. No, I mean they kind of are. But, because I'm going to give the same little small blurb at the beginning. I talked about, in a couple of videos and on Twitter, through the holidays about potentially reformatting these to do like a Toku of the Week show, where I would sort of go over both shows in a little bit more brief detail, and go over the news of the week. I don't think I'm going to go through with that exactly. I feel like this is the third idea that I've like brought up, or second idea or something like that, and then just not gone through with. I kind of got half and half responses on it, but basically I'm going to keep the reviews the way they are, just review week to week, and then doubling or quadrupling up or whatever whenever I need to take a break, like the holidays. The reason this was on break was because there's just so many reviews to get out between build stuff and Power Rangers stuff and other like you know, seasonal videos I wanted to get out, like the best of the year and stuff like that. So, so it'll basically be the same as it is for now. I'm just gonna, for the foreseeable future, just keep it the same. These videos are like the lesser performers of my channel, but I just like doing them. But I think it's just easier to keep them as is. But as far as the news thing goes, I'm just going to, sort of just do more ramble videos whenever there's news. So, like, you know, like I have been doing ramble videos when there's significant news, but maybe when there's smaller, like tidbits, like 3 smaller stories that I feel like commenting on, like just kind of not major scans or some sort of fandom news, I'll do sort of a Toku News of the Week thing and just sort of try to incorporate more ramble videos on the news into my channel throughout this year. So anyway, sorry to bore you with that, but so these videos are going to stay the same. For those of you, the few that follow these, you know the drill. It'll be every week unless there's some sort of situation where I have to double up. But anyway, so this is Kyuranger. This is episode, dang, I already forgot. I looked it up before this. But it's like 30, I want to say it's like 38 through present. It's like the one right after the sort of, I was going to say game show one, sort of, where they participated in all these games. So basically, since I've been gone, I've been watching it, you know, obviously. I'm not just like reading the summaries, but since my last review, the main focus has been this arc on Lucky's dad and their sort of final push into attacking, what's his name, Don's home planet. And there's a little bit of mystery surrounding that, which I'll get to in a second. But so that's the meat of what I'm going to be talking about. There's 2 small things, mainly that hiccup burp, 3 small things, including that I want to address before I get into that, which will be the meat and potatoes of this video, which is there was an episode, I'm pretty sure that this happened after I stopped reviewing. If I talk about anything I already reviewed, I apologize, but I tried to remember my best. But there was an episode that dealt with Champ and Professor Anton and the other Professor Anton, and there's like a weird, he has like a weird split personality, like almost dissociative identity disorder, which is why he's split and why there was a good one and why there was an evil one now. That felt kind of weird and unnecessary to me. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I'll see if they come back around to it anytime before the end. But it just felt kind of, like, just unnecessary. Like, I don't know. I was fine with him just being a dark matter scientist that defected. So, I don't know. We'll see. I'll talk more about that again if they address it again, or like in the season review when that happens. But so I'm kind of mixed on that. It had some good stuff in it, but it was just weird. The only other thing is there was an episode that was very fillery, like probably the most filler we've gotten in a while. It was like a weird baseball episode, and I wasn't too huge on that. But other than that, it's basically been about Lucky's dad. You know, we had already seen that he would seem to defect to the planet, but it wasn't him. You know, they faked his appearance. He had a stupid king outfit, and Lucky just sort of accepted it, that, oh, his dad, you know, died protecting the planet. But then we're here attacking Dark Matter's homeworld. We're gonna finish this. This is the final fight. Speaking of, it's like 40 something, and I like that they literally said we're entering the final fight, and we're entering this last arc stretch. This is what Sentai usually does. Around somewhere in the early 40s through end, it's usually the final arc, and it's all like, I want to see the next episode stuff, which is something that I felt Zyuohger and Ninja missed, and especially Power Rangers right now. But I just wanted to point that out, because I like that this is feeling more like it should, with, you know, things ramping up, and we're like heading towards a goal. So they're trying to attack the planet, and this mysterious assassin arrives, And it's funny because it was presented in a preview as a Garu episode, or at least from my perspective, and I thought it was going to be one of Garu's family or friends. Like, it kind of reminded me of the Gokai Blue stuff, but it was actually his dad, who has indeed been brainwashed to be an assassin. So he was a roadblock, and then they also found out that Don's plan is to blow up the universe. And I like how not just the Kyurangers, but some of the villains themselves were questioning what a dumb plan that is. You know, Toku or not Toku, that's a classic villain plan of, I'm just gonna blow everything up. Like, well then, you don't get to rule anything, and like he had his reasons about like rebuilding or whatever, which is also a motivation that's happened. But I like that they're like, yeah, that's dumb. And even Octopus Lady was like, wait, you're gonna blow it up, the universe. And I like that. I can't even remember a Toku where I've seen the villains question what a stupid plan that is. Just logistically, like, can't you just want to rule the world like all the other sickos? But anyway, so that they find out about that, and they're going to use this black hole Kyutama to stop it. So there's this plan happening, and there was this moral dilemma about Lucky sort of, the fact that his attention being on trying to save his dad was taking away from the mission, which is something that Tyler could have learned a lot about in Dino Charge, because he was all about his deadbeat dad. And it was a detriment to the team, and his existence is a detriment to life. That was really mean, but just he was a stupid character. He was just like, oh, Dad! Well, that's for another video. No, I don't know more videos about Dino Charge. No more Dino Charge. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, so there was this moral dilemma about that, which I actually appreciated that they touched on it and they thought about it. And Lucky sort of resolved that at first he was like, you know what, you're right. We just need to take him out and we need to save the world. But then later, I think it was Garu that had a conversation with him that said, no, you always find a way. And I like that they addressed that. It did irk me a little bit in the beginning, because part of me wishes that sometimes Sentai would show that you can't save everybody. Like, that's a common hero message, is sometimes you're not going to be able to save everybody, but so long as you try to save as much people as you can, it's good. And I wish sometimes Sentai would show that. It's not often shown. Those are one of the two things that bother me. That and the fact that Sentai and Power Rangers will often make it seem like you're completely useless without a team. Like, you can't do anything. Which is kind of... I get the message of teamwork if there's a balance, but that's for another video. But it ended up coming around. Even though I wish they would have highlighted that aspect, which I just talked about a bit, I did like the way they used it for Lucky's arc with... you know, basically his catchphrase of, you know, he makes his own luck and he's determined, and it just wouldn't be him if he didn't try. And so he did try to save his dad, and he wound up doing it so that basically his dad could sacrifice himself to be the one to activate the Kyutama, because something went wrong and they needed somebody to activate the Kyutama and keep it going so that they could stop this blow up the world plan, and they need someone to stay there, and he's the one that did it. And there was this really great scene between him and his dad, and he said, you know, basically, I'm lucky that you're my son, and they exchanged the catchphrase. And I have to say, I'll probably go on about this a bit when I do my Kyuranger season review, but I've really been impressed with Lucky's development. I know there's some people that still don't like him. He's still not my favorite, but I've mentioned in previous videos that he's actually gotten a lot more balanced, which I really appreciate, so that when there's a serious situation, he's not yelling and shrieking, and he's not just a cartoon character. But then, like at the end of the episode, when they had the Christmas celebration, he did his catchphrase and his cartoony bits. There's a time and a place for it, and they actually have found that balance, I thought. And I like that they've actually kind of given an emotional weight to his catchphrase, so it's not just a cartoony catchphrase. And I like the way they wound up explaining it. Back when the series started, I wasn't sure if it was just solely a cartoon gag, or if maybe somehow later they were going to explain that it was somehow tied to the Kyuranger powers, or he was some sort of chosen one. But it basically, it's just positive thinking, which they addressed in, I think it was the Pegasus episode. It was a very early episode, but they've been reinforcing that slowly throughout the series. It's basically, so long as he believes in his luck, he can do it. And it's a little cheesy, I'm much more of a pessimist, but I like the way it's been done. I think, and I like that they spent time on it, but that's just me personally. I think he's been well done. Like I said, he's still not my absolute favorite or anything, but I appreciate that he's actually balanced, because my problem with the loudmouth Reds, other than I just don't find that an appealing character type, is that they're usually just a cartoon. They're not a character. They're a caricature that just has a few catchphrases, and I like that I feel that Lucky's an actual character. But so yeah, all that stuff I think has been good. I was kind of surprised how long the Lucky's dad arc went. Like, I kept thinking it was done, and then they kept restarting it. I had like 3 starts. But the other thing I wanted to touch on here at the end is there is a bit of mystery about Don called Tsurgi to a meeting and he's like, oh, I gotta reveal myself, and there was wings out. So basically, the current, well, I mean, I'm pretty sure it's gonna happen, but the rumor and theory is that he's Curvo. He is Sergei's friend from the past. I'm not sure how that's gonna work. Like, I mean, I know it can work, but I'm not sure, has he always been that? Did he take over for him when they first killed him? Was he always just tied to him? I'm not sure, but I think that's interesting. It's funny, because I'm gonna be mentioning this in Kyuranger and Build. There's 2 twists in each shows, well, 1 twist in each show, that's 2 twists total, that people were like, oh, I saw that coming. No, you didn't. Like, I mean, I saw it coming once they started getting close to it, but I'm sure there is some people that theorized it, but I hate when people are like, oh yeah, I saw that coming. Like, no, you didn't. Shut up. You did not. You did not. So, but I think that's interesting, and I'm interested to see how that plays out, and I'm glad that there's even a little more to his identity, because as I've talked about in the past, the more we've learned about him, the more I was kind of hoping for there being a little more to it. But that's pretty much all I wanted to tackle. There's definitely a few things that I probably forgot, definitely probably, but since this is sort of a general wrap-up, I don't want to keep it too long and go over each episode in detail, other than I've still been really enjoying myself with Kyuranger. There were some little dull fillery bits, but for the most part I've been engaged. I enjoy the momentum, I enjoy the characters. I'm really looking forward to seeing how the end plays out. I think it's going to be some really great episodes, but I'm going to miss it. But I would probably just give an overall score to its performance since episode 38 or whatever I left off as an 8.5. Anyway, that's about it. Until next time, if you like, comment, subscribe. Awesome Writer, signing out.